Tricia very much feels like they've been hounded out, that they've not been sort of made to feel welcome. Was this a surprise to you?
It was, because I think it's the most terribly sad thing. They're both brilliantly talented, well, talented people at reaching out and touching all areas of our country. And I think that they've got this wrong idea that they want wall-to-wall adulation, that if something isn't absolutely, if they're not being lauded...
Sally, you're in a really interesting position, because you're a journalist, obviously, with a professional opinion on this, but you've got a personal story, haven't you, about Meghan, which is one, you know, they are clearly complaining about the way that they are covered. But one of the stories that was covered involved you.
Yes, I mean, it seemed to me control freakery gone mad.
Tell us
because
what happened.
I was on court one at Wimbledon, just watching the tennis, taking a few pictures of Serena Williams, at which point a very polite Royal Protection Officer tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Would you not take photos of the Duchess? She's here in a private capacity." And I was gobsmacked, and then I laughed, because she was there with friends. She was there privately.
But how do you know that came from her and not someone being overzealous?
And how do you know it was Royal Protection and not Wimbledon security?
Exactly.
Because they're the ones that cleared the people out from around her. Not the Royal Protection. They wouldn't do that. Well, it's not their job.
That's interesting, Sally.
They were obviously told
Is she
by
blamed
somebody.
for too much, is the implication? Actually, sometimes it doesn't come from them at all.
I think that there would be ways for Harry and Meghan to put things right, because they've had a series of things go wrong. They've had all the woke lecturing and virtue signalling about...
They are human.
But they keep having problems. They keep doing the same silly things over and over again.
Silly. Harry had to walk behind his mother's coffin, aged 12.
And it was heartbreaking.
And it was heartbreaking.
Yes, it was.
Meghan said in 2012, she said, "I don't want to bring our child up in an atmosphere of racism." Now, I can tell you,
but magazines, love and affection.
like, I know they're comments, but magazines have actually had to stop a lot of racist comments. We don't know what happens in newsrooms.
But the comments that everybody in this room gets,
yeah,
you know, if you appear in the Daily Mail, there would be terrible things. I mean, I've had terrible things.
Vicky, you were the press secretary for the Queen herself, and one of the most shocking things for all of us, because it certainly never felt like Harry didn't have a wonderful relationship with his grandmother, that they've done this without her knowledge, without her knowing. Does that surprise you? Do you think she knew, or is it, as we've seen?
The Queen didn't know. William didn't know. They had a brief chat with the Prince of Wales some time ago, and he cautioned them to get everything in place before you make an announcement. Work out how this is going to work. Work out the logistics, how much time you're going to spend in one place, how much time you're going to spend in the other, the issue of security, how it's all going to be paid for, before you make an announcement. They didn't listen to him. They made the announcement.
Maybe someone was going to leak it, and so they got there before them.
Well, I very much doubt that, but they didn't wait. And they put this out, and everybody's now saying, well, what about the house in Windsor that cost $24 million to renovate?
Yeah.
It's going to be empty for most of the year at the taxpayer's expense. Who's going to pay for security? Going to ask the Canadians to pay for it? Is the British taxpayer going to pay for it?
There are lots of details, aren't there?
There are so many details.
How will the Queen be feeling this morning?
The Queen will be feeling very let down and very angry, probably more angry than she felt after Andrew's car crash interview last year.
Really?
I would have thought so, because, look, the Epstein thing and Andrew has been going on for ages. This is a bombshell that's just dropped. And to suggest that the photograph of the Queen and 3 heirs in waiting was the touch paper is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. You can criticise them for William putting out an initiative on the 31st of December on climate change, a 10-year programme of which there's going to be a prize awarded every year, and Harry overshadowed it by putting a photograph on Instagram that everybody was going to pick up of him cradling Archie.
But I don't know. I just wonder whether we're splitting hairs a little bit when it comes to things like that. They run their own, you know, kind of publicity machines in their lives.
But there was a time when there was coordination, when households talked to each other, that they wouldn't overlap, that one wouldn't overshadow the other one. But that's how good organisations work.
You know, this is... You know, I felt from the word go that Meghan was under attack, not because she was Hollywood, because all of these different things, and it must be really difficult for her. But I look at Charles, Prince Charles, with Camilla, and he kind of set the scene for this because he went with his heart, didn't he? Everyone was against it. And surely isn't Harry doing that? Doesn't he just want to protect his family?
But look at the publicity, the wonderful publicity they got through the South African tour, and then they dissipate it within seconds with this suddenly starting to talk. I'm sure it was intentional.
Go back to the acres of publicity that surrounded the engagement and the wedding. Yeah. They had 7 months of positive publicity.
Trisha, I mean, I think Sally's right, actually, that tour got them so many positive headlines. And then they decided right at the end to launch their action against newspapers.
Yeah, I think that
was just looked terrible. You know, why not enjoy it? If you have a problem with the coverage, why not enjoy the moment when actually you're getting great coverage?
I think it's probably been simmering, as Vicky said, for a long, long time. I'm sure that many of them royal families might be shocked but not surprised, or surprised but not shocked. But I think it's been simmering for a long time.
There might be a lot of people who have felt very supportive of Meghan and sympathised with her, but feel that this might be the last straw.
Well, you know, one of the things that upsets me is that, again, I'm looking at social media because it is such a huge dissipator of news, and newspapers pick that up. But everyone's blaming Meghan for changing Harry, ruining the royal family, doing all of these things. And that's isn't that misogynistic? We've decided it's only because of her. Harry's always
I think a lot of people see it as actually Harry's reaction.
Oh, I hope so.
Delayed reaction to the terrible trauma he had from his mother. He wants to try to protect Meghan from the same thing
and who can blame him for that as well?
Absolutely.
You know, as a father and a husband.
But he does avoid the fact that Diana herself was instrumental.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Royal Sussex Squad, your go-to place for setting the record straight on all things Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. If you're tired of the never-ending smear campaigns and media hypocrisy, you're in the right place. Today, we're breaking down the latest nonsense about Harry's immigration files and exposing the real agenda behind it. Let's get into it. Once again, the British press and so-called royal experts are back at it, this time obsessing over Prince Harry's immigration records in an attempt to dig up dirt. But let's be honest, this has nothing to do with transparency or the law. It's just another desperate attempt to attack Harry and Meghan and distract from the real royal scandals. Let's not forget, Harry has been open about his past, including his struggles and personal growth. He's turned his experiences into something positive, using his platform to advocate for mental health and veteran support. But instead of focusing on that, the media is spinning the story to paint him as dishonest, the same media that conveniently ignores the skeletons in other royal closets. Hypocrisy much. And let's talk about the real issue here. The relentless attacks on Harry and Meghan aren't about their choices, they're about control. The firm and its media allies can't stand that the Sussexes walked away and are thriving on their own terms. Whether it's through Archewell's global impact, the Invictus Games, or Meghan's tireless advocacy, they continue to shine without the royal institution dictating their every move. Meanwhile, the royal PR machine is scrambling, desperate to shift attention from their own problems, and what better way than to drag Harry and Meghan's names back into the headlines? But here's the reality. The Sussexes are winning. They have their freedom, their family, and a community of supporters who see through the noise. So let's keep shutting down the lies, supporting Harry and Meghan, and calling out the hypocrisy every time they try to bring them down. If you love seeing Harry and Meghan live their best lives, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Royal Sussex Squad. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can donate via Super Thanks. Every contribution helps us keep the truth coming. Until next time, stay positive and keep the Sussex love strong.